So I want you to imagine something for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine standing at the pass of a 3-star Michelin restaurant in Lyon, France.
Oh, that's a high-stakes environment right there.
Right. It's like 6 in the evening,
Yeah.
service is just about to begin. And behind you is just the absolute chaos of a commercial kitchen.
Yeah, fire, steel, shouting.
Exactly. Dozens of people moving at this frantic speed, raw ingredients everywhere. But right where you are standing at the pass, that chaos is tamed by absolute ironclad discipline.
It has to be.
Right. Nothing leaves that kitchen without being inspected, verified and announced. You know exactly what's going out to the dining room, and you know exactly who prepared it.
It is a beautiful image.
Okay.
And what is really fascinating here is that this level of extreme orchestrated discipline, it isn't just about making good food.
Yeah.
No, in a high-pressure environment like that, that discipline is entirely about survival.
Yeah, survival.
Yeah.
And that exact mindset, that rigorous, uncompromising discipline of the Michelin Pass, that's the blueprint for what we're exploring today. We are jumping into this deep dive, unpacking Course I of the AI Skills Cookbook, which is, a strategic manual designed specifically for the modern executive.
Right, and this first course is titled La Mise en Place.
Yes, a mise en place, which translates to preparation before action. So our mission today is to really show you how to transition your organization from simply just buying AI to actually governing it.
Exactly, building auditable, defensible AI for the regulated enterprise.
Yeah. And that's why we're using this overarching French culinary tradition as our anchor today, right?
We are, because in that world, the dish is not the plate of food that arrives at the table. The dish is the strict management system that put it there.
Wow, okay.
And if we connect this to the reality of the EU AI Act, and compliance frameworks like ISO 42001 governance, is exactly that. It's a management system.
It's not just tech.
Right. It is not a pile of clever tech hacks, and it's certainly not a few lines of code you tack onto an app right before launch. It is the preparation before the action.
I want to pause right there because comparing a modern enterprise CEO to a chef de cuisine is like such a powerful shift in perspective.
It really is.
So if I'm understanding this philosophy correctly, the AI itself, like the language model, the algorithm, that's just the raw ingredient, right?
Precisely.
And so the governance structure is the recipe. And the trust you build with your customers and your regulators, that is the actual meal we're serving.
That is exactly it. Because before a chef can even think about turning on the stoves, they must know exactly what ingredients are in the kitchen,
Right.
where they came from, who brought them through the door. I mean, you simply cannot govern what you cannot see.
Which brings us to the first critical recipe in the cookbook,
Yeah.
right? The inevitable infrastructure or the enterprise AI register. But what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, to understand the mechanics of this, we look at Auguste Escoffier. He formalized the Brigade du Cuisine in France over a century ago. And Escoffier didn't invent the brigade system, having a dedicated saucier, a poissonnier, just to make the kitchen look organized.
Right. It wasn't just for aesthetics.
Exactly. He did it so that 400 complex meals could go out to a demanding dining room safely in under 3 hours.
That's incredible.
Every station has a chief, and every single dish must cross the pass. So in the corporate AI context, this pass is your enterprise AI register.
Okay, but mechanically, what is that? Are we talking about buying some massive, expensive new software suite?
No, not at all. Mechanically, it should just be a single, centralized, queryable PostgreSQL database table. That's it.
Just a table.
Just a table. But the rule is absolute. Every single AI system, model, or autonomous agent operating anywhere in your enterprise must be registered in that table. No exceptions.
So if you're an executive listening to this, that means no shadow AI running on like a rogue engineering team's corporate credit card.
Exactly, but enforcing that is incredibly difficult.
Oh, I bet.
Which is why the cookbook pairs this with Recipe 07, which is procurement intake.
Okay.
And the metaphor here is Le Marché de Rungis, the legendary wholesale market known as the Stomach of Paris.
The Stomach of Paris, I love that.
Yeah. And the strict rule at Rungis is that nothing reaches a restaurant kitchen before the dawn intake process.
Right.
A chef who tries to skip the morning market and buy ingredients out the back door, they inevitably end up serving spoiled fish in the middle of a Friday night service.
A total disaster.
A total disaster. So for the enterprise, this means establishing a strict procurement hook. Every single purchase order, vendor agreement, or software update that contains an AI component must route through a centralized intake process.
Before anyone signs off.
Exactly.
And this is how you block what the cookbook calls shadow saws, right? Because I think a lot of leaders picture rogue AI as some, I don't know, secret Skynet project in the basement.
Right, right.
But in reality, shadow saws is usually just a well-meaning employee who downloads an unvetted AI browser extension to help write emails, completely unaware that the extension is actively reading and storing proprietary company data on some external server.
That is the exact vulnerability.
Hmm.
But stopping data leaks is really only half the battle, because the intake process is also about understanding your legal footing.
Okay, how so?
Once an AI ingredient is at the door, you have to know exactly what your legal relationship to that ingredient is. The cookbook calls this the liability map.
The liability map.
Right. And for this, think of La Dogana di Genova, the historic customs house in Genoa.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, when goods arrive, the customs house determines your exact status. You have to formally declare, are you the provider of this AI? Are you simply the deployer? An importer? A distributor?
Hold on, you're losing me a bit there. Why do those specific titles matter? I mean, if I buy software, I use the software. Why do I care what label the regulation slaps on me?
It matters because the legal distinction under the EU AI Act between a provider and a deployer is massive.
Oh,
The compliance burden is completely different. I mean, most enterprises safely assume they are just deployers. They bought an off-the-shelf language model from a big tech vendor, and they're just deploying it internally.
Right, like the vendor built the AI, so the vendor takes the heat if it's fundamentally broken.
Exactly. But here is the trap.
Okay.
Let's say your IT team buys an off-the-shelf HR chatbot to help answer employee questions. You are the deployer. But a few months later, an engineer decides the bot isn't accurate enough.
Sure, happens all the time.
So they feed it 10 years of your company's old internal performance reviews to fine-tune it and make it smarter.
Which sounds like a standard optimization project.
It does. But under the law, by fine-tuning that model on new specific data, your company has fundamentally altered the system.
Wait,
You have legally crossed the threshold. You are no longer the deployer. You just became the provider of a brand new AI model.
oh wow. So suddenly the original vendor is off the hook.
Entirely off the hook. You just inherited a massive stack of what the EU AI Act calls Article 16 obligations.
That sounds intense.
It is.
Yeah.
You are now legally required to maintain a quality management system, draft detailed technical documentation, undergo conformity assessments.
Wow.
The liability target is now squarely on your back. And the terrifying part is that the CEO usually has no idea this legal threshold was crossed, because internally, it just looked like a routine software update.
Okay, I have to push back here. Because, look, if you're a leader listening to this, your primary directive is usually growth.
Of course.
And the prevailing culture in tech is, move fast and break things.
Right.
So if you tell an engineering team that every single browser extension has to be logged in a Postgres table, and every minor model tweak has to go through a legal liability review from Genoa, aren't you going to completely kill innovation? I mean, it sounds like you're telling the CEO to stop being a visionary and start acting like a kitchen bouncer.
Well, it is the most common pushback we see, and it's very real friction. But the companies that move fast and break things with AI, they usually end up breaking their own brand reputation.
Yeah, that's true.
Or violating fundamental employment laws. The Enterprise AI Register isn't a bureaucratic bottleneck designed to slow you down. It is a structural envelope.
An envelope.
Yes, it protects the company from unbounded existential liability.
So you're saying let the engineers experiment in the sandbox as fast as they want, but the moment that code touches real company data or real customers.
The moment it touches production, it must cross the path, no exceptions.
Right.
I mean, the cost of a compliance delay is pennies compared to the cost of deploying a rogue AI that hallucinates a legally binding promise to a customer, or inadvertently discriminates against a job applicant.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So we've logged every AI tool in a database. We know the ingredients, but just knowing what we own doesn't tell us if it's actually safe to use. Right?
Exactly.
How do we filter these tools before they touch sensitive data?
For this, the cookbook introduces Recipes O3, the AI risk classification gate.
Okay.
And the metaphor here shifts to the maitre d' hotel at a Michelin house.
Oh, I like this.
Right, so before service begins, the maître d' stands at the lectern on the Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré. They check the reservation book. They know exactly who has a severe peanut allergy, who is a notoriously demanding food critic.
Who absolutely cannot be seated next to whom.
Exactly. They manage the risk at the front door. Because discovering a guest's peanut allergy while they are eating the appetizer is simply too late.
You're in the ambulance at that point.
Precisely. So in enterprise AI, this means you have to classify an AI system by its intended purpose.
Not the underlying technology.
Right. You must run every proposed use case through a strict classification gate before a single dollar is spent on development.
Wait, explain why the intended purpose matters more than the tech itself. Because an LLM is just an LLM, isn't it? It does the same math regardless of where it is.
It's a crucial distinction. Regulators understand that the exact same algorithm, doing the exact same mathematical operations, has vastly different human and legal impacts depending on the room you put it in.
Okay, give me an example.
So if an LLM generates a personalized marketing email and it hallucinates a weird detail, it's a minor customer service headache.
Yeah, you apologize and move on.
Exactly. But if that exact same LLM is used to screen incoming resumes for a job opening and it hallucinates or exhibits algorithmic bias, you have just violated fundamental employment rights at scale.
Wow.
The technology is identical. The purpose is what creates the danger.
So what exactly is the maitre d' looking for at the door? What gets turned away?
Well, the regulator provides clear categories. First is the intended purpose prohibited.
Prohibited, meaning illegal.
Yes. Things like social scoring, real-time biometric identification in public spaces, or emotion inference in the workplace. These are on the maitre d's do not seat list.
Straight up banned.
If you deploy these, you are criminally exposed. Stop immediately.
And if it's not prohibited,
Then you check if it's high risk. The EU AI Act defines these as Annex 3 domains. So if your AI touches employment decisions, education, critical infrastructure, law enforcement, or essential public services, it is automatically high risk.
so it gets in, but
It gets let in the door, but it requires the absolute highest level of human oversight and auditability.
okay, so we've checked the ingredients at the pass, and we've triaged the guests at the front door. We know what we're cooking and who we're serving safely.
Yes.
Now we need to look at the kitchen itself. Once a high-risk system is allowed inside, how do we physically structure the software architecture so that no single piece of AI can poison the meal unnoticed?
This is where we move into the architecture of truth. Recipe 06 demands a strict separation of powers.
Okay, another metaphor.
Yes, think of a French frigate, La Marine Nationale. On the bridge, the captain commands, the navigator charts, the engineer stokes, and the lookout scans.
Everyone has a specific role.
Exactly. Non cumul de fonctions. In traditional software, a single program might propose an action, verify the action, and execute it all at once.
Right, to be efficient.
But in governed AI, that is a recipe for disaster. The fundamental rule is no single component can hold two critical roles. The AI agent that proposes an action cannot be the one that approves or audits it.
Can you give me an example of how that works in practice, like with actual software?
Absolutely. Think of an autonomous AI agent designed to issue refunds to customers. The AI model that reads the customer's email and proposes the refund amount absolutely cannot be the same system that approves the transaction,
Oh, I see.
and it cannot be the system that writes the audit log. A human or a deterministic piece of software cannot honestly check its own work in the heat of action, and an AI certainly cannot either.
Which perfectly sets up Recipe 08, the notary. And I have to say, this completely flips the current Silicon Valley narrative on its head.
It really does.
Right now, the tech world is obsessed with making the AI the genius CEO, giving it total autonomy, letting it run the whole show. But the cookbook argues something entirely different.
It is a massive paradigm shift. In a truly governed enterprise, the incredibly advanced large language model is demoted.
Demoted.
Yes. Think of l'étude notariale, the French notary office. The LLM is no longer the final authority, it is merely the proposer. It is the overly enthusiastic intern sliding ideas across the desk.
And so who's the boss?
The boss is a standard, boring, append-only PostgreSQL database.
Really?
That database acts as the notary. The AI model proposes an action, but the database records it, and a separate deterministic rules engine approves it. Only the recorded act in the database is real.
Okay, I have to challenge this. Because if I go back to my engineering team and tell them that every single lightning-fast AI decision has to be routed, checked, and logged by a traditional, old-school relational database before it can execute,
Oh, they are going to mutiny.
They will. Are we creating a massive technological bottleneck? Doesn't this kill the exact speed and automation that we bought the AI for in the first place?
It absolutely creates a bottleneck, but that bottleneck is entirely by design. Autonomy without auditable authority isn't innovation, it is just liability traveling at the speed of light.
Liability traveling at the speed of light. Wow.
If you let the AI act directly on your systems without a strict, unalterable database logging every proposal and approval, you have no proof of why a decision was made.
And without proof, you have no defense.
Exactly. And to ensure that defense is bulletproof, Recipe SU 4 introduces the truth stack architecture.
Okay, what's that?
Think of the Fer de la Planturaz, a massive lighthouse built to withstand brutal storms. The truth stack requires 4 distinct layers of verification for any consequential AI action: source, model, memory, and action.
Source, model, memory, action.
Right. If an auditor walks into your office because your AI denied someone a loan, you need to be able to cross-check what happened. You pull the source data, verify the specific model parameters used, check the append-only memory log, and confirm the final action taken. They must all align perfectly.
Which brings us to the ultimate test of all this preparation. I mean, the system works perfectly today. But what happens 6 months from now when the regulator knocks on the door? Governance has to survive time.
This is the existential core of Course I, Recipe 05, the reconstruction principle.
Okay.
And here we go to the vineyards of Vosne Romanée and Burgundy.
Nice.
A wine's value is its terroir, right? Its traceable origin. The supreme operating axiom for the CEO here is that reconstructability ranks above speed. Every single AI action your company takes must be fully replayable.
Meaning, if a regulator questions a decision made by an AI 6 months ago,
you must be able to pull the exact inputs, run them through the system, and return a specific technical value. Parity.
Rarity, true.
You must get the mathematical identical result. If you can't prove exactly how a decision was made, your audit trail isn't evidence. It is just a creative story you are telling a regulator.
But wait, how is that technically possible? I mean, language models are inherently probabilistic.
Yes, they are.
If I ask an LLM the same question twice, I get 2 different answers. They hallucinate, they vary. How on earth do you force a probabilistic AI to give a mathematically identical result 6 months later?
It is a brilliant question, and it is where most companies fail. You cannot rely on the AI's internal memory to achieve parity. True, your architecture must freeze the variables.
Freeze them how?
When an action is taken, your system must log the exact prompt text. It must lock in the specific version of the model used, not just GPT-4, but the exact microversion hash from that specific day.
Okay, so you lock the model version.
Yes. And crucially, for high-risk decisions, you set the model's temperature parameter to 0.
Ah, temperature.
Right, temperature controls randomness, so setting it to 0 forces the model to choose the most mathematically probable output every single time, making it deterministic. You cache all of these exact parameters in your Postgres Notary database.
So 6 months later.
6 months later, you don't ask the AI what it remembers. You feed those exact frozen parameters back into the locked model version, and you will get parity.
True, but there is a glaring real-world problem here. What happens when the tech changes? Say your vendor OpenAI or Anthropic deprecates that older model version, or they update their API.
Right, these do that all the time.
The model behaves differently now. Suddenly, your perfectly calibrated system is drifting. How does governance survive a vendor's software update?
That specific vulnerability is solved by Recipe 09. The doctrine card.
The doctrine card.
Yes. And the metaphor here is the Carthusian monks of La Grande Chartreuse. Monks die, right? But the rule of St. Bruno remains. The doctrine survives.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Many companies make the mistake of putting their safety rules and governance directly into the AI's system prompt, literally typing, "Please follow the law and don't be biased."
Right, which works fine until the model updates and suddenly ignores that prompt.
Exactly. If your governance lives inside the AI, it vanishes the moment the vendor updates the model. True doctrine must live entirely outside the model in version-controlled code.
The doctrine cards.
Yes. Think of them as a suite of automated, rigorous software tests hosted in your own GitHub repository. Every single time a new model version is proposed or an API updates, the new AI must run a gauntlet. It must pass every single doctrine card test before it is allowed to touch your production environment.
So the governance is totally independent of the vendor. It's your own rulebook.
Yes. And to ensure that rulebook actually holds up when the things, hit the fan, we arrive at Recipe 10. The reconstruction drill.
The final recipe.
Yes. We look to the Sapeurs-Pompiers de Paris, the elite Paris fire brigade. You don't trust volunteers to protect a capital city. You need professionals who drill constantly. Their response time at 4 in the morning is just as flawless as at noon because they have rehearsed both hours relentlessly.
And how does a CEO apply a fire drill to an AI system?
By understanding that you absolutely do not want to figure out your audit trail while a regulator is sitting in your conference room,
Oh, definitely not.
the CEO must mandate monthly reconstruction drills. You wake your engineering and compliance teams up, you pull a random production run from 3 months ago, and you force the team to reconstruct it end to end.
Wow.
If they cannot prove parity, true, you have a critical structural failure and you fix it immediately.
You know, if I'm an executive listening to this, I am deeply terrified of that 4 a.m. phone call saying our AI went rogue or, made a highly biased decision that is now trending on social media.
It's the ultimate nightmare.
You're saying my best defense against that nightmare isn't necessarily buying a safer AI model?
Yeah.
It is having a ruthless, well-rehearsed fire drill.
Yes. Because doctrine cards and reconstruction drills are your ultimate insurance policies. They protect you against silent model drift, they protect you against vendor lock-in, and they prove to any regulator that you are in total control of your kitchen.
Okay, let's bring this all together. We have traveled deep into course I la mise en place. We've seen that for the enterprise leader of 2030, AI is not a magic wand you wave to solve your problems.
Right.
It is a highly regulated, high-stakes industrial kitchen.
And it requires absolute, unyielding discipline.
From the enterprise AI register the pass, where we see every ingredient, to the May for day at the front door where we classify by purpose, to the Postgres database acting as the ultimate notary, all the way down to the doctrine cards and fire drills. Success in this era isn't about having the smartest chatbot. It's about building an architecture of reconstructible truth.
To quote the foundational doctrine of the cookbook one last time, intelligence is the ingredient, governance is the recipe, trust is the meal. You will eventually eat what you sow.
We spend so much time in the business world obsessing over what AI can generate, right?
Yeah, the outputs.
The code it can write, the efficiencies it can find, the endless stream of automated content. But if you're standing at the pass of that Michelin kitchen, watching the absolute chaos be tamed by rigorous discipline, it really makes you rethink your strategy.
It changes everything.
If the ultimate power of the modern executive lies in reconstructability, auditability, and control, is it possible that your company's most valuable AI asset in the future won't actually be the things your models create, but the specific, highly governed things you have the courage to explicitly refuse to deploy?